the Ilizarov is wonderful for limb lengthening for any etiology. And, my favorite subject is extensive lengthening in achondroplasia. So I'll just show you how dramatically it can change lives, as in this achondroplastic child who had lengthening in the tibia by 11 centimeters with full function, then humerus lengthening, and then finally a second bout of cross lengthening to give her 33 centimeters. She became 4 foot 11, which is a short normal instead of 3 foot 11. And she also managed to change her life, got married to the person of her dreams, a normal person, as a child leads a normal life and not as an achondroplastic dwarf. But you have given me the topic of congenital posteromedial bowing of the tibia, early versus late lending. This is again one of my smaller favorite topics, chiefly because we wrote this up in the Journal of Pediatric Orthopedics in August 2020 of North America. So we compared early versus late lengthening. CPMBT presents as a posterior medial bow. They say the big difference in life is the vector, which is your direction. So if you have an anterolateral bowing, you're going to have a lot of problems like CPT. And if it's a posterior medial apex, it's a benign condition, or so it was believed. Well, it is indeed benign, but the thing is that they can have a lot of shortening, which is not well understood. If you look at the history, Heyman and Herndon first described it in 1949. Then Hoffman and Wenger in 81 said, the deformity reduces at birth, the severe deformity with the foot touching the shin, but the limb length discrepancy increases. So Papas had a classification, and then Dr. Shah and Dr. Joseph wrote up about this, only the deformities. They didn't perform lengthening. And what we found is indeed, as Hoffman and Wenger said, that the deformity gradually reduces over time, but the discrepancy of length increases. And so the role of the surgery is for either deformity correction or length equalization, which is ideally limb lengthening. So what we found is that less than 30 articles are there in the literature with less than 250 cases. Less than 90 lengthenings are described, and only 4 papers describe lengthening more than 10 patients. So ours is so far the largest series with 28 segments in the English-speaking literature. And what we found is that the leg length discrepancy at maturity in this disease, which was believed to be only 4 to 7 centimeters, can actually grow as much as 9.7 as in our series when measured by the multiplier method, or Gordon from Washington University, St. Louis found even as much as 14 centimeters. So therefore, we decided to look at our experience, and we found that it's best to lengthen early. Why lengthen early? Because many of these children can have a severe leg length discrepancy at maturity, which is LLDM. And the severe deformity in childhood does not allow them to walk, does not allow them to play and develop normally. And the parents are distraught because most of the pediatric orthopedic surgeons tell them wait until close to adolescence. And it's very disconcerting for the parents. And Nimela, in an article in JPO American, wrote that there's a lot of parental anxiety and suffering on watching these kids. So we have been lengthening since the year 1998 in this condition, and we aim to compare early versus late. This was a retrospective study in our center. We had 28 segments in 23 patients. They neatly fell into 2 groups, younger than 5 and older than 5 years of age. And in the younger children, we had the osteotomy at the apex of the deformity in 11 and at the metaphysis in 3. And in the older children, we had Ilizarov, we had double level, we had TSF, and we also had lengthening over nails when they came to us after maturity. So the preoperative parameters we studied were the coronal and sagittal plane deformities, the percentage leg length discrepancy, and the leg length discrepancy at maturity. We found postoperatively, we studied the amount of lengthening we performed, the percentage lengthening, and the residual deformity. We calculated the external fixation duration in days and external fixation index in days per centimeter. And we, computed our complications by the Lascombes triple contract criteria, which are rather stringent and consider the length gain, duration, and sequelae. What we found is that the younger children had a leg length discrepancy at maturity of at least 7.2, and we gave them a length of about 3.4 centimeters average. So just a moment, please. Yeah, and in older children, the lengthening was similar at 4.1, but the length discrepancy at maturity in the older kids was only 5. In group A, we had only 100, it's about 4 months of fixator time. That's about a month per centimeter. But in the older children, it went up to as much as 7 months with almost 2 months, 50 days per centimeter, even though the amount of lengthening was the same. So in the older children, these are our statistics, and the older kids, it's much longer. And you see what it does is that in the older children, when you treat them at around, 10 years or 12 years or 14 years, and they are in school and they miss out on school because they can't make it to school. They're obstinate, they are obese, they're not well coordinated because of the long-standing deformity and the shortening. And what we found is that in group A, the children are very comfortable with the fixator. This is one, worry that people have. How can you do an Ilizarov? Look at this child, he's happily playing about, you know. So that's the reason. So we looked at complications. We had fibular non-union. We had mild residual deformities, some migration of the distal and proximal fibulae, poor regenerative. One young child who was given steroids, and mild problems like these. But according to the Lascombe's triple contract criteria, it was fulfilled in 11 of the 14 in the younger group, whereas only 3 of the 14 in the older group fulfilled it. We did prevent growth inhibition from early lengthening by following the recommendations of Journeau as well as Saleh, who have written that the maximum lengthening you should go for is about 30% and no more than 2 lengthenings in before skeletal maturity. And we have adhered to these principles in most of them. So, this is what we found. This child had 5 centimeters when he came to us. He was told to wait until 12. The parents were distraught. He had these deformities, and we went on to perform a lengthening in which the child easily tolerated. And, he got 24% lengthening, and he was in Lascombe's grade 1, did extremely well. This child came to us in 1998, and his father at the age of 15 months told me, why wait if you can surely give a good lengthening? And the child was playing about from the very third or the fourth day. We achieved, 3 centimeters in a very short time. And only once again at 12 years, we had to lengthen him. So it gave him 2 short episodes of lengthening without complications. So this is our experience. Life is so much easier for the parents. It's better for the child. It's easier on the child and on the schooling, etc. So this is him at maturity, this same child with less than 4 millimeters difference now. In contrast, this child came to us at 13. So he had LLDM of 6.7 and he had the lengthening, but it took a really long time, 9 months. He missed school and college. And then he also developed this post-surgical valgus, which needed a second correction at a later date. So, we find that they become obese, they're difficult to coordinate, they're walking. We can do a good job because Lascombe's criteria are strict, but we don't end up with any severe complications. What we have found is that lengthening in younger children is much easier for the child and the parents and the family, compared to older. So if they come to us after maturity, we've done lengthening over nails, as in this obese young man. Even so, it took 63 days per centimeter. And because his time to full weight bearing was 74 days, which is more than the 45-day cutoff in the Lascombe's criteria, he was grade 3. But he did extremely well, and he has no true complications. So we did follow up 13 of the 23 children to maturity. And I would like to conclude that early lengthening in congenital posterior medial bowing of the tibia takes less time and has less complications, and it can be safe and advantageous to lengthen young children who have large deformities and have a large projected leg length discrepancy at maturity. This was the paper in JPOA in August 2020. For those of you who want to look up the details, kindly read it. I can hand you the full paper. I finally end with the caveat emptor. That is, only those of us who are sufficiently experienced and can keep young kids free from pain should consider lengthening at an early age.